Good evening and welcome. It's wonderful to see you. We are grateful and delighted to share this space as treaty partners and guests on Treaty 1 land, the traditional territory of Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis people. We're also grateful and delighted to be sharing this event with the current exhibitors of the art gallery, Hutterite communities in Manitoba and the Kaufman Museum in Kansas. Thank you to Providence Christian Services, a Manitoba Hutterite charity, for covering all the costs to bring Voices of Conscience, Peace Witness in the Great War to Winnipeg. And you'll be seeing that a little later this evening. Also, a big thank you to Jessie Hofer, a teacher at Silver Winds Community in Sperling, or near Sperling, Manitoba, for making and confirming all the Hutterite contacts for this event. Jessie was also responsible for contacting Ray, along with Crystal Springs teacher Ian Kleinsasser, about the exhibit from Kansas. And when Ray suggested that we include a Hutterite daily life art exhibit, Jessie made all the contacts that resulted in an exhibit of 250 pieces from 14 communities. So we thank you very much, and we're very delighted about that. We begin the evening with prayer. Shagun Olude is a member of the gallery's advisory committee and the founder of Winnipeg graphic design firm Indigo Inc. Studios. He now works as well for MCC Canada as a graphic designer. And he and his wife Titi founded Promised Land Ministries in their home country of Nigeria. Shagun, will you come and pray with us?
Good evening. This time last week, some of us were on our driveways, and you can imagine what I was doing. Some of you lost power, some people were stranded. It's such a contrast to today, so we're very thankful to be here. My text for the prayer tonight is taken from the book of Matthew. It's the story of the feeding of a multitude with just 5 loaves and 2 fish. We're told that when Jesus received the little boy's lunch, he gave thanks. It is not lost on us that thanksgiving was on that occasion twofold. One was to thank God for what he has already provided in the bread and the fish. The other part was a preemptive thanksgiving, if you will, thanking God for what he was going to do, a miracle that was yet to occur, which was the feeding of thousands with just little. So in that text, we see that a miracle happened. We're shown how abundance was created out of little. Today, as we bow our heads in prayer, we will give thanks. And my prayer tonight for all those who would participate is, dear Lord, we offer a heartfelt thanksgiving tonight for your love, your kindness, and your mercy. We thank you for all that you have done in our individual lives. We thank you for your provisions. We thank you for all the gifts we daily receive from you. We are gathered here tonight to honor and to say thank you with the gifts and talents that you have given us. We thank you for the resources that you placed in our hands. May all of it multiply in the service of peace and love for one another, as you have commanded, and to all humanity. We thank you for the lavish visual feast we're about to receive and the beautiful choral arrangements we're about to enjoy. Thank you, Lord, for all who are present here tonight. Thank you for those who organized tonight's event, those who baked, those who cleaned, those who arranged equipment, those who have been practicing songs and performances and speeches for tonight, and all those who quietly serve in the background in various capacities. Almighty God, we join together to invite you into our midst tonight. We welcome your awesome presence, and we thank you for seeing tonight's activities worthy in your eyes. We also ask your blessing over all that we will consume tonight. And all who can, join me in saying Amen. Thank you.
Good evening. It's an honor to be here. I'm Herman Stahl, a teacher at Jordana School near Mennonite. I'm married to Cynthia Stahl, formerly Kleinsazer, my favorite artist, sitting in the back. Together we have 6 children, including Renee, who will share a few thoughts on her art later. Renee's vision of a Hutterite Life in Art exhibit, representing contemporary and local Hutterite art to accompany the Voices of Conscience exhibit, which features voices of the past, serves as a visual challenge, demanding of us to reflect on where we're from and who we've become. This event materialized through the persistent work of people like Ray, Jesse, and Serena from Fairham, arranging for over 250 pieces of art to be shipped to the gallery from 15 different Hutterite schools is no small feat. Thank you. We appreciate and benefit from the important work that you do. The purpose statement for the exhibit reads as follows. We hope that this window into Hutterite life and culture will encourage conversation and build understanding and goodwill. We also hope that displaying the art for young Hutterites in a public forum will help them feel validated and comfortable in their own skin. Most of the art is student art, but there is some art by adults as well. Originally, the call was for art that related to the theme of peace, but it was quickly realized that criterion was too narrow. In the end, the exhibit was opened to include artwork that depicted the many facets of Hutterite life. After all, at its best, our society is an expression of and witness for peace. As a Hutterite, one cannot talk about art without talking about the communal experience. Intentional community presents unique opportunities for creativity. The intergenerational relationships, the rich interaction between members, and the direct access to a distinctive culture can wonderfully inspire, be wonderfully inspiring to the creative mind. However, there are also unique challenges for creating art within a culture that often only reluctantly acknowledges and supports the development of individual pursuits. The underlying sentiment is perhaps best expressed in a 16th century Hutterite confession, where Peter Riddeman states, Christians shall not apply their industry on outward ornamentation to please the world. Whatever tends to create pride, haughtiness, and vanity, we permit no one to make, in order that our conscience be preserved spotless before God. Hutterite art is clearly influenced by a theology of modesty, practicality, and communalism. The tension of creating within a controlled setting can be observed in the nuances of everyday life on the colony. an example of pushing the boundaries in a modestly designed yet subtly elaborate blouse sleeve. There's a precarious balance between not drawing too much attention to yourself, yet also having something new and refreshing to set you apart ever so slightly from your peers. The analogy of a well-oiled clock has often been suggested as a description for a well-functioning hot rod community. This evokes an image of neat, tightly packed rules and regulations, all working together in a single direction to the beat of relentless metallic tick. For certain, there is beauty in order. But is this an accurate depiction of participating in the kingdom? Consider instead the analogy of a painting, a complex collection of strokes, some sharp, crisp, and straight, others relaxed, casual, and meandering. Imagine the infinite array of colors, interacting forms and shape, subtly used against bold contrasts, varying spaces, fresh textures interacting with those already cured. Consider differing perspectives. It is through the vast variances, assigned with seeming randomness yet distinct intent by the artist, that profound beauty emerges. Thus, the richness and vibrancy of a community then not, at least in part, depend on the uniqueness and variance that each person contributes to the whole. A community is only as strong and vibrant as the individuals that it is comprised of. Participating creatively within community, then, is not only a privilege, it is a responsibility. Being created in the image of God is empowerment. To have been gifted a spark of the divine has to do, at least in part, with our responsibility to the rest of creation. As an individual, I have a unique role to play that only I can play. By developing my creative gifts and embracing the opportunities afforded me, I'm essentially complementing creation. As a teacher, I sometimes ponder the value of art in the classroom. There are students who only reluctantly volunteer an answer in math class, knowing that there's a good chance that they missed a step somewhere along the way, who only hesitantly contribute to class discussions in ELA, thinking that their interpretation is probably somewhere on the surface anyway, or reluctantly participate in phys ed, guessing that their teammates see them only as a liability. Those same students often excel in art class. For them, art is a lifeline, a way of saving face, of tasting success, of restoring confidence. You can visibly see them come out of their shell, chattering, confidently suggesting, and humming contently as they are lost in a task that they can freely and fully embrace. I believe there's work to be done in terms of inspiring and equipping the next generation of hot rods to embrace and creatively tell their story. I am confident that we are going in the right direction. The different techniques and mediums represented in the gallery is encouragingly exciting to me. In the near future, I envision the publication of a vividly illustrated graphic novel depicting the 16th century Hutterite elder Hans Kreel as he is huddling against the damp wall of a cell in the Faulturm at Schloss Taufers in South Tyrol, with only the color remaining of his otherwise rotted shirt, bringing his story alive for Hutterite children to marvel and ponder over. In reflection on my own childhood, art was largely done by women. I know my mom was known in our community for her steady hand with one of those handheld electric markers. Other families on the colony would send their kitchenware over to our house to have them initialed with elaborate sprigs of flowers. There was always embroidery, cross-stitching, and crocheting. Art was rarely done for the sake of doing art. It was always combined with a practical or spiritual purpose, like cross-stitching a common Bible verse or commemorating a wedding day as a wall hanger. Men typically express their artistic gifts through the crafts of woodworking, leatherworking, metalworking, or even weaving. Penmanship is probably the most enduring art form for the Hutterites, most likely valued more due to the spiritual connection of transcribing Hutterite teachings by hand. Today, as I reflect on the work done in our schools or on the wonderful work in display in the gallery, I look back with a sense of sadness at my own lack of art instruction as a child. At the same time, I celebrate. Some of these works are from my students or even my children, and I acknowledge the progress with pride. There's a certain thread of innocence running through the art. No doubt that is partly because it is mostly student art. Although the depicted scenes are very much a part of the Hutterite experience, the artwork shows no distress, no conflict, no division, no controversy, just a simple, idyllic existence. The everyday life of a child, babysitting, harvesting, visiting and enjoying a meal, hauling water and working the land. Utopian art, devoid of depression, frustration, confusion, doubt. Does this mean these issues are absent in our culture? Certainly not. It simply means that we don't yet have a space where these issues can be safely addressed. Perhaps art will provide that possibility and space in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Herman. Herman has also taken the responsibility tonight to bring the Odana Youth Choir here, and we are very delighted to have you here. Odana is a community near Minnedosa, and so it has taken them a little bit of effort to get here. And we're very much looking forward to hearing you. And to your direction by Jonathan Clausen. Thank you so much.
Bist du uns wie ein Vater, der sein Kind nie vergisst, der trotz seiner Größe immer ansprechbar ist. Deine Herrschaft soll kommen, das, was du willst, geschehen. Auf der Erde, im Himmel sollen alle es sehen. Gib uns das, was wir brauchen, gib uns heute unser Brot und vergib uns den Aufstand gegen dich und dein Gebot. Lehre uns zu vergeben, so wie du uns vergibst. Lass uns treu zu dir stehen, so wie du immer liebst. Bis ans Ende der Zeiten. Amen.
Thank you so much, choir. You really brought a lot of joy here, and we really appreciate that. Thank you. We have two artists here tonight whose works are in the exhibition, and they're going to tell us a little bit about their work. Renee Stahl is a student artist from Odana, and Victor Kleinsasser is an art teacher and longtime artist from Crystal Springs, located near St. Agathe. So Renee, you come first, and Victor, we welcome you both.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Renee Stahl, one of the many paintbrushes behind the artworks in the gallery. Author Sigmund Bauer said, "Story is the most powerful and effective way to engage and influence people and to change culture." I have always loved stories. My mom reading us vividly illustrated children's books, and my dad telling us about the time they found a toolbox in the mud after the river receded. And when I started school, a long-awaited event, I finally learned to write my own stories. Words have always had a comforting concreteness. The story won't be lost if I write it down. And art, to me, is just another form of storytelling. Why do you create? I think every artist has their own reason, and I draw to remember. I draw the smallest moment in my day because I think that's where the true magic hides. Sometimes it's the most mundane moment that makes you smile and brings that extra spark of joy into your day. Story music, the painting of a girl playing a flute, is one of my most personal paintings. You could almost call it a self-portrait. For as long as I can remember, I dreamed of playing the flute. I don't think I even knew what a flute sounded like, but there was something whimsical about it, sparkling silver. And imagine my excitement when in grade 7, I was finally given the chance to learn. Yet I hesitate to call myself a flutist. A few years have passed since then, and I no longer have a teacher to guide me. Because of this, other things, like art, have often taken priority. It's a dream that I have not forgotten, only put on hold. But once a year, around Easter, one of our teachers coaxes me to wipe the dust from the slender black case and accompany the children's choir. Something about the contrast of that dark, sober Easter dress and that magical silver flute just really begged to be remembered. "Preserve your memories," said Louisa May Alcott. "Keep them well, for what you forget, you can never retell." Maybe I'm just sentimental, but the storyteller in me has always placed a deep value on remembering. Not only to remember, but to share. And that is why I write. That is why I draw. Because I hope that that moment in my life that made me feel happy, reminiscent, or inspired might light up your day as well. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Victor Kleinsasser. I am a teacher, member, Crystal Spring Colony. And just going to say a few things about some of my artwork, but also maybe reflect a little bit on growing up as a young student at Crystal Spring. And you start with simple things, crayons, pencils, construction paper, that kind of stuff. And I see that a lot in my students now. I teach grades 6, 7, 5, 4, and I see that in some of my students. They're now starting to doodle. It's all black and white, but eventually you get to the color. And eventually, like I did, I'll start thinking about telling a little bit of the story of my people. And now I'm getting to the point where my stories are trying to tell a little bit also about the spiritual side of my life, all right? And so, these two pictures are, the lady in them is my aunt Rebecca, Rebecca Kleinsasser. She was always an important person in my life, and her husband, Mike Kleinsasser, was actually a conscientious objector in the Second World War. He was a wonderful storyteller. But in the one story, we've got this moment where it's just this little one moment, just sharing something as simple as an apple, right? This is 50 years ago, maybe. Not quite, maybe not that much. But you can see the dress is a little bit older, a little bit, this is from an old black and white kind of picture. The other one, I started doing a little more color stuff. And then there's the influences in your artwork. And this one, obviously I've been doing looking at a lot of the Bev Doolittle work, right, with camouflage art, right? And so you can see the word joy kind of hidden in the back panels, right? See, and so we've got the word joy kind of hidden in the back wall. And then we've got the in-serving in the front there. So we're trying to do a little bit of a fun thing there. So just a few words about that. I've really encouraged today with what I've seen, the artwork I've seen. Hutterites have been in Manitoba for 100 years. And, well, we have a little bit of artwork to show for it. We're mostly a farming people. We're not so much artists, but I think we do have something to share. And that's great, and I'm hoping the next 100 years we'll have even more. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee and Victor. Please be sure to go and look at their work and also the many more works that are there. They are delightful. The gallery, and Ray Dirks in particular, have been busy since we celebrated right here last year on our 20th anniversary. We're so pleased to look both backward in celebration and forward with anticipation. And here's Ray to give you some of the details about that.
Thank you. First of all, just off the cuff, I am not a manly man. And leading up to this particular event, it's always feels like it's a lot of work and it's stressful and it seems like it's my own fault. I let it get at my sleep. And I sit there, I lie in bed thinking, did I contact this person? Did I do this? Are we going to do that? Are we going to do this? What about that? And anyway, Katie is ever encouraging. And then this afternoon, late in the afternoon, when I knew other people were doing stuff in the gallery and I was kind of finished with what I had to do over there, and I was over here and the choir had just finished rehearsing and I was sitting there working on my computer and there was maybe 2 or 3 people in here and Renee came up here and was practicing her speech. And that just made me go, this is why I do what I do. And why for 21 years my family has put up with a lot of, you just never know, are you going to make a living or you're not? But that is not the main thing in life, fortunately. Well, I mean, it's important, obviously, but I'm way off on a tangent here now. In the old days when I used to travel internationally more, and I'd think, I've been gone too long, and Katie would see that something was just getting me, and she'd say, you've got to put some time into that. And I said, well, that doesn't make any money. And she said, no, you have to. So she has been a wonderful support from day one, as have my children. So that was whatever. Before I get started on what I would consider to be my talk, I'd like to point out these artworks that are over here beside me. You may have noticed them. I hope you have. They are examples from our next exhibition, which is conservation themed. There are 6 Manitoba artists, 3 from Winnipeg, 3 from elsewhere in the province, all from different backgrounds, with different styles, techniques, perceptions, etc. Each of the 6 artists created a series of artworks on conservation. These here tonight offer you a taste of the exhibit, and please return and join us on November 15th at 7:30 for the opening in the gallery. The artists would very much appreciate it. Next Thursday, I and Seth Woodyard, who is also on the Gallery Advisory Committee and an artist, will be going to Stony Mountain, directly into a range to meet with one of the artists, Ovid Charlotte. We have worked with Ovid a number of times since I first learned of him through Murray Barkman of Open Circle, I'd say about 2005. When the conservation themed exhibit was scheduled, I immediately thought Ovid would be perfect. He has come to be a man with a deep knowledge of traditions, and he is a God-gifted artist. His art is his life. It is where he finds comfort in knowing traditions. It is where he searches for meaning, healing, and self-worth. He has poured himself into this project. And I know sometimes, Ovid's been in prison in total more than 30 years. He's 60 years old. And he's done horrendous things. And horrendous things have been done to him, especially when he was a child. And sometimes people think, oh, you're naive to be finding hope in someone who's, as Murray Barkman told me, he's never going to get out of prison. But in that man, I see a spark of God. And I think we have built a wonderful relationship with him through the years, a true and honest relationship. And he has never harmed me or my family, so my mind doesn't go there. I just see the spark of God in him, and I want to be there for him. On a number of occasions, Ovid has mentioned his distrust of galleries and art dealers who have shown interest in his art. When I asked him why, with all his apprehensions that he works with us, he answered, "I trust you." After confirming Ovid's participation in the exhibit, correctional educator Karen Jonathan sent me an email. "I am grateful to have community partners like yourself to show these men there are people out in society that honor and appreciate their gifts and talents." I'd like to thank all of the artists whose work has been displayed here this past year. There's been some wonderful exhibits. All have been tremendous. If you'd like to know what is happening ahead of time and see what happened this past year, check out our online presence. Selena does a great job of keeping things up to date on the website, Facebook, and Instagram. Pre-Selena, we were absolute dinosaurs in all of those categories, so thank you, Selena. I'd also like to note that we had 2 Hutterite schools visit us today. So it's been a busy day and a busy time, and all wonderful in the end. Mark 12:28-31. One of the legal experts heard their dispute and saw how well Jesus answered them. He came over and asked him, "Which commandment is the most important of all?" Jesus replied, "The most important one is the Lord your God is one. Therefore love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment is greater than these." You shall love your neighbor as yourself comes before everything except God the Creator. Welcome. Welcome, neighbors. Welcome and thank you to those neighbors who were here first and on whose ancestral lands we live. Welcome to all of us neighbors who have come to live in this place, whether arriving with the fur traders or stepping off a plane as a refugee last week. Welcome to all neighbors of every culture, country, ethnicity, and faith. You are all welcome here. This is a Mennonite Christian institution with doors open wide to all neighbors. It is also a place where all neighbors of goodwill are invited to tell us about themselves through their art, culture, and faith. Tonight, revelations also include food and music that you just heard, and food that you will soon sample. Welcome. After the program, you will go to the gallery. You will see two powerful and insightful exhibitions. Voices of Conscience, Peace Witness in the Great War, comes to us, as Laurie said, from the Coffin Museum in North Newton, Kansas. Why would we host an American-focused exhibit? Because persecution during World War I in the U.S. of pacifist Hutterites led to their coming to Canada, to Manitoba. After two Hutterites featured in the exhibit were tortured and killed in American custody and their families intentionally humiliated, many Hutterites felt they must leave, relocate to Canada. A couple of years ago, teachers, as some of this is a repeat, but from my point of view, a couple of years ago, teachers Jesse Hofer and Ian Kleinsasser came to the gallery to ask if we might be interested in hosting the exhibit. And it does feature a pivotal moment in Hutterite history in North America, absolutely. I said yes, so long as we could make a Canadian connection. Jesse sent me texts and photos, and I cobbled together a panel about Hutterites coming to Manitoba. This panel has been added to the exhibit here. Voices of Conscience is disturbing and thought-provoking. I said to Jesse that I'd like an exhibit focused on daily life to bring the story to now, to hope, to joy, to feature a people who contribute much to Manitoba, but of whose life most other Manitobans know very little. Jesse set out to make connections with fellow teachers and with artists. This past May, I was invited to give a presentation at Jesse's community, Silver Winds. After Jesse and I stepped aside to talk about the exhibit, he was concerned there might not be enough art. I said we'd figure out a way to make it work. As you've already heard, there is definitely enough art. And I went from thinking, okay, how do we stretch it to fit the whole? I always tell people if they're hanging an exhibit and they're not sure what it's going to look like, I say, just make it look like you're doing it on purpose. But when I was trying to figure out how am I going to fit this, make it look like it's on purpose, and then all of a sudden pieces started coming in, and there were 250 of them. And I thought, this is not a problem as far as not having enough space. Of having too much space. So thanks to Laurie Matties and Danielle Fontaine-Kozlowski, it fits, all 250 pieces. A wide-ranging celebration of ordinary daily life, of special moments, of faith, of history, of people working together, of schools, of family and community. Artists range from elementary school students, and I loved the feistiness of some of the young kids' art, to high school students such as Renee, up to adults such as Victor. Our Hutterite life and art colorfully rejoices in the hard work, faith, and perseverance that led to a persecuted people finding new life, now long and well established in Manitoba. A month or so before the exhibit was to go up, Jesse and his wife brought some of the artworks to the gallery. There was a sealed cardboard box from Decker Colony. I asked Jesse if he knew what was in it. He had no idea. I opened the box. A crowd of serving grandparents offered us trays of cakes, cookies, fruit, coffee, and tea. I picked up one of the carved wooden figures made by a Decker school student. Up to that moment, I had had no idea what the title for this year's fundraiser was going to be. The instant I looked in this lovely grandmother's, I should have been looking, grandmother's eyes, the title came to me, Welcome. Welcome and serve. We are being served by various Hutterite communities through the exhibits, through the speakers and music here, through the food you will eat at the reception. Our prayer is that this gallery welcomes and serves artists and communities of goodwill, that in our offering this place to serve others, our neighbors, we can learn about and from each other, build community, respect, understanding, acceptance, friendship. In our ever-increasingly diverse community, getting to know each other and welcome each other as neighbors is critical. This gallery has hosted exhibitions by Indigenous neighbors, Hindu, Jewish, Muslim, and Buddhist neighbors, Mennonites, Anglicans, Catholics, Evangelicals, United Church, and other Christian neighbors have exhibited here. Hindu artist Manju Lodha and Muslim artist Isam Abood and I have led workshops for literally thousands of students in private and public schools, from the inner city to St. John's Ravenscourt, from Winnipeg to Waskata. I have brought exhibitions to 2 of the last 3 gatherings of Anabaptist Global Neighbors, the Global Assembly of Mennonite World Conference in Zimbabwe and in the US. Various exhibitions have toured in Canada, the US, Europe, and Africa. We've hosted, curated, been involved in exhibitions from several countries. Books and documentaries have been created through the gallery. Along the Road to Freedom is the last book we published, Mennonite Women of Courage and Faith. If you would like to purchase that book tonight, it is available in the gallery. Our next book will come out in early 2020. I do not trust myself, that's why I keep looking over my shoulder. It will feature the diversity of our community in a visual, personal way like nothing has before. And there have been officials from Manitoba Education have also told us that. Manju Lodha and I have been working on the Leap in Faith project for a long time, a documentary that paints a quick and informative canvas of faith in Manitoba is long finished. We, along with Isam Abood, completed project-related school workshops. Manju and I have visited and interviewed countless people. I have literally thousands of photographs. Out of those interviews and photographs will come the Leap in Faith project book. Like I said, hopefully in early 2020. The book will feature followers of Christ, Catholic, Protestant, and Orthodox. It will feature Jewish rabbis, an imam, Indigenous elders, Buddhist monks, Hindu priests. It will feature university students, senior citizens, families, people that worship at home and in their place of worship. It will include the Grand Mosque, Sikh Gurdwaras, and Catholic churches. It will include a visit to a Yazidi home and with followers of Falun Dafa in Assiniboine Park, a house church in Niverville, and Syrian refugees and Mennonites together in Altona. A quiet area set aside for Muslim prayer in a downtown office tower, and much, much more. All neighbors. Looking back at the original gallery mandate, I trust this place has done what it set out to be. The 2 main objectives were and are, 1, that the gallery promote artists as God-gifted, and that those gifts be used and celebrated in the community, in the church, in this space, and 2, that the gallery be a Mennonite Christian institution serving as a base for building community, reaching out to everyone from Indigenous to the most recently arrived, and offering our space to be theirs for a time. As my longtime project partner and friend, Manju Lodha, likes to say, we can all teach, we can all learn. Manju's not here tonight because her husband is receiving another award. As I told them, they need to get a trophy cabinet for home. They're both getting awards left and right lately. To know more about what the gallery has done here and beyond, in schools, in places of worship, across Canada, in other countries, go to the CMU website and then to the gallery page. Under About, go to About the MHC Gallery, and there's a link to a video of last year's anniversary event where I talked a lot more about the history of the place. And the weird address in the middle there is literally, if you just want to go straight there, that's where you would go. Okay. Thankfully, supporters, you have kept this place, its reputation and work far larger than what its budget suggests. Alive and making a difference for 21 years. Your donations keep our welcome mat out, allowing us to serve our neighbors and them to serve us. My prayer is that the gallery, in some unique way, is making a difference, striving towards the goal of love your neighbor as yourself. Thank you to, and I'm going to repeat some thank yous here, but I want to make sure I do it personally. Thank you to all the Hutterites who have helped tonight and with the exhibits. Thank you especially tonight to the people of Odana who have journeyed a long way. Thanks to Herman, Victor, and Renee. Thanks to Marcus and Jennifer from Netley Community, responsible for the food you are about to discover at the gallery. Thank you, especially again to Jesse Hofer. His name has been mentioned a few times, and I would like to embarrass him. Please stand, Jesse. Without you, this would not be happening. His hard work has made the exhibits you are about to see possible. And thank you to Providence Christian Services for covering the significant costs of Voices of Conscience. Thank you for your support and your kindness. And to all, welcome.
And thank you, Ray, for all the many, many, many hours that you spend keeping the gallery going and seeing its visions through and many other things. I'm so grateful. Can you imagine a job more fun than the one that I have, being a volunteer that gets to help with putting art on walls and meeting artists and just doing all things that interact with wonderful art. And a lot of it is thanks to Ray. So thank you. As has been said many times, and as most of you know, this gallery runs 100% or almost 100% on the support of people like you. That's what makes this event so very important. We celebrate together. We eat fine food. We look forward to more years of making connections with artists and their work. And this is no ordinary gallery. The welcome it offers to artists of faith, to international artists, to young artists, to older artists who are just beginning or who have been making art all of their lives. I've lost my page. These are the networks this gallery creates. For those of us who find joy, appreciation, food for thought, and even for those of us who are sometimes confused by what we see, these artists enrich us. Sometimes they're prophets, showing us difficult truths. Sometimes they're theologians, helping us to see our faith in new ways. Sometimes they're mirrors, showing us ourselves. Art is important. And this gallery offers a welcome and a safe space for all of us to explore and connect. I know that all of you are here because you know that, and you want to support what goes on here. And for that, I thank you, we thank you, and we ask again for your generosity. You can write a check to CMU with MHC Gallery in the memo line. You can pay with a credit card. You can go online to the MHC Gallery website and find the donation page. But Selena Wolf is here tonight, and Selena, she's back there, she's waving at you. She's the one who looks after your donations, and you can put your donation right in her hand tonight. Most of you, I think, received a donation slip, and you can fill that out. It gives you lots of information. The information it doesn't give you is how to donate online, but that is on your program sheet. So I think we've got it covered. But if you are confused or have any questions, please talk to Selena. And again, thank you so much for your support. It's much needed and very much appreciated. And now we get the fun. You're all invited to the gallery for treats provided by the Netley Hutterite community from near Petersfield. Thanks to Marcus Hofer, the original contact from Netley, and to Jennifer Hofer, the person in charge of making the goodies. And I have seen them, and I can hardly wait to taste them. There are 3 ways to reach the gallery. You can go out those doors and turn left, out the chapel doors, and then turn right, and you'll see the gallery down there. Or you can go out and go slightly right by the lab, beside the lab, and go into the back doors, or out the doors and then into the back doors of the gallery. Or you can just go straight down the stairs, follow the long hallway, and then back up, and you'll be right in the gallery. If all of that confuses you, just follow the crowd. And there you will find food and drinks, food near where you are in the main part of the gallery, and drinks in Ray's office. Again, many thanks, and we'll see you over there.